Hello and welcome back to my Rupa Universalis guide for MEIOU and Taxes. So, due to the fact that the game is starting almost 90 years earlier than the main game, you maybe need 90 years of history to know what is going on. So, I already explained in the last episodes a little bit about what you can expect in the Balkans. So, of course, the Ottomans are going to expand here to take the stuff and conquer into Europe. So this is a hotbed of conflict here. Don't be surprised. What else is going on, which you maybe already know from the base game? There's the 100 Years' War between France and England. In fact, there is currently a war ongoing here. So let's check out the sides here. England has a lot of stuff still down here. And in fact, they are going to win this war due to events, because in history they are going to capture, which is going to happen within 1 or 2 months here, they're going to capture the French king, and then they're going to broker a peace where most of southern France is going into English hands here. And that's basically the political starting point here, where you can either as England or as France have to start playing from. This conflict is going to take a while to solve. So either England can win or France can win. Most of the times in this mod, most of the time France is going to win, like historically. Over time, just takes time. But sometimes England can win and therefore take over a lot of France territory and stuff like that. But it's rather rare because it's quite hard to do. So the AI needs some luck to do. As a player, it's of course easier because you can better control your troops than the AI can do. Castile also starts in a civil war here, so they are going to unify, and then pretty much what you already know. North Africa is a hotbed of conflict here. Fez is going to fall apart into Morocco and substates, so don't expect too much here. But most important history, in fact, is in the HRE and in Eastern Europe. So Bohemia starts as the emperor. So if you want to play Austria, you are not emperor, you need to grab it first. And there's a certain religious event here. It's a Hussite first uprising. I think the base game has a second one in it, but this is going to cause a lot of unrest in Bohemia, which can cost it the emperorship. So as Austria, you really want to look out for weak points of Bohemia to strike or take over the emperorship. Also in the East European states, there's a lot of events happening because of the preparation of the Commonwealth or the union between Poland and Lithuania. A lot of stuff is going to happen. For example, Hungary is going to get a personal union under Poland or over Poland, depending like how it plays out here. So don't be surprised that Poland and Hungary are temporarily under one crown before Lithuania gets the chance to marry into Poland and stuff like that. So there's a lot of shifts here. There's a lot of stuff which can go different to normal history. And also further to the east, there are still the large hordes present in a very strong way. So the blue horde and white horde, they can reunify, build some kind of Mongolia again, and cause a lot of trouble. They can also fall apart quite quickly. There's a lot of stuff which can happen here. And most importantly, in fact, let's tag switch. Let's tag here. Yeah. What you're missing maybe is the Timurids, because they don't exist yet. And the Timurids will spawn here, probably in Marana, however it's called. And they are going to conquer a lot. So there's a small chance that the Timurid event chain is going to fail. But most of the time the Timurids are going to form and conquer a lot of stuff here. So if you play here like in Georgia or in Fars or something, be prepared to die. This is going to be a rough situation here. I just don't go blindly into Fars to say like, oh, let's play Persia, because it could go horribly wrong. India doesn't have any specific specialities here, a lot of religious conflict, but politically Hindustan is going to fall apart into Delhi and other states, but other than that it's relatively calm. Down here you have a little bit of East Asia, it's like mostly political, nothing too fancy. China has fallen apart here, so there's a lot of civil conflict and reunification going on in the first 50 to 100 years. And that's basically it. So what you really need to know is when you play in a certain region, you roughly need to know what is going to happen or what are your biggest emissaries and enemies. So I definitely do not recommend to play in the Near East here, or Middle East rather, due to the fact that if you don't play the Ottomans and you play next to the Ottomans or the Mamluks, you're going to have a hard time. If you play too far in the Middle East, you're going to have a hard time due to the fact that the Timurids are going to come for you. India is quite interesting to play. I can recommend Bengal to play because it's a very easy starting place, very rich, a lot of farmland. China is hard to play at start, so rather know the base mechanics before you start into China, because you have to reunify everything, and then you have a massive country which you need to govern economically, which is very hard. So what you can also do is play in the East African section here. You could play Ethiopia, or I can always recommend to play Yemen. Yemen is quite funny because it's quite rich with all the exotics they can produce. You could also go to the East Africa here, very peaceful, a lot of expansion options, but you are going to struggle with tech cost because you either don't have legalism yet. So if you go too far south, you don't have legalism. You won't have any of the other institutions, therefore it's going to be rough here. Yeah, Tunisia can be quite funny, or Tlemcen can funny. Mali is a good state to start, but you can also play one of the smaller ones here in Middle Africa. But you have a lot of tribes here, so you definitely should know how to manage estates before you play here. What I can recommend as a kicking off good point, or like a starting nation, is Naples, Tunisia. Milan can be quite funny, however you start in a war, so you definitely need to have a little bit of ability to win a war to make it really rich. Venice is also... No, I wouldn't recommend Venice. Venice is very specific because you have a trade empire and you definitely need to know how to handle trade for that. Austria is pretty good. Hungary is quite funny because you have all the options to contain the Ottomans here after you got rid of Poland. You can expand quite heavily in the Balkans, kick off Naples from the Balkans, contain the Ottomans, have a 100-year or 200-year long war phase with the Ottomans, because this is going to be very costly. They are very strong, and you're also very strong, but it's going to be a lot of war. Denmark, or one of the Nordics, is quite good to play because you have a lot of political going on. You can build the Scandinavia or the Kalmar Union and stuff like that. You can expand into Russia because Russia is quite weak yet. But of course you could also play Muscovy and therefore go the historic route of unifying into Russia everything. And of course you could also go to play something very small, like in the HRE, however, I wouldn't recommend it because they are dirt poor most of the time, and you definitely need to know the economic side of the game. However, if you roughly understand how the economics work, and you feel free to ask questions, I definitely can recommend to play Holland, for example, here, because they can be quite rich with trade quite quickly. You could also go for Brandenburg or the Teutonic Order to have a quite militaristic economic style. So they are also quite heavily in events with Poland, Lithuania, and everything like that. So the Teutonic Order is the harder choice of these two. Brandenburg is the easier choice because you are in the HRE, and you could kill parts of the Teutonic Order to get more land before Poland eats everything. Yeah, but as a starting nation, definitely play Naples or Tunis, or play something like Bohemia or Austria. They're definitely easy to play, and they are rich enough so that you don't have to care about economy. Milan is also very, very rich, and you can dominate Italy quite heavily and quite quickly within the empire. You could even make a play for the emperorship as Milan, because you are not in the base game. You have this time frame until 1490 or something like that to get everything in Italy under control. You have like 140 years time for that, so you could expand Milan to include everything in here, or a lot of stuff in here, just to prevent the exit of Italy from the HRE. And in fact, as long as someone from Italy is the emperor, the exit will not happen. So feel free to do it. Milan is a good choice to go. Kill Venice, kill Florence, and kill the Papal State, and you are good to go. What else can we recommend, or what can I recommend here? What is easy for learning the game? I definitely don't recommend England, because it's quite hard militarily, politically, and economically to get everything off the ground. Castile is quite easy to play. You are super rich. The only thing you can screw up is not colonizing good enough, or picking fights with France, which you shouldn't maybe. So if you ally France and then just wait for the Iberian wedding to get Aragon, you could kill off Portugal. You can kill Granada. You can form Spain later on, and you can conquer everything in North Africa without anyone bothering. The only one who could go against you are the Mamluks here, and well, at some point you can beat them. So this is like very easy to play. It's easier than Naples, but you have a bigger country. So the economic side is harder to manage because of all the autonomy. So let's say like Naples has not that many provinces, while Castile has a lot of provinces. When you get all the ones from the Civil War back, you have a lot of autonomy in the upper region stuff. Therefore, your corruption is going to go quite high. Corruption is one of the biggest values here, which you have to consider, because don't try to get it to 0. You can't. What you want to do is have your corruption between 20 and 60. 60 is already quite high, like 20 and 50. If you can keep it stable between 30 and 45, you're really, really good. But don't expect it to be low. This is different to the base game. So much to that. See you next time. And yeah, I think that's the core features explained. And well, if you have questions or need a guide for anything, or want a guide for a specific country, feel free to ask or make comments. And well, see you next time.